My name's Sophie Miller, and at 28, I've got a pretty solid gig as a data analyst, working remote for this big financial firm that pays me decently enough to not stress about rent. If I had my own place, that is. See, I still live with my parents, Thomas and Linda, in this little suburban house about an hour outside the city. It wasn't my first choice. After I landed the job 2 years ago, I was ready to pack up and get my own spot. Maybe something small with a good Wi-Fi signal and a quiet corner for my spreadsheets. But then Mom sat me down one night, her hands fidgeting with a napkin, and said, "Sophie, we were hoping you'd stick around a little longer." Dad was there too, nodding like he always does when he's too tired to argue. "Your mom lost her job last year, with the layoffs, and I'm not exactly raking it in since I retired early. The pension's tight." I looked at them, these two people who'd raised me, who'd scraped by to get me through college, and I couldn't just walk away. "How much would help?" I asked, already knowing I'd say yes. "Maybe 800 a month," Dad suggested, his voice low like he hated asking. So that's how it started, me handing over $800 every month to keep the lights on and the fridge stocked. It wasn't a big deal at first. I make good money, and I'm not one of those people who needs fancy stuff. I stash most of my paycheck in savings, dreaming of a little house with a porch someday. No point wasting cash on things I don't need, right? My sister Rachel, though, she's a whole different story. She's 36, 8 years older than me, and lives like she's got a personal ATM on speed dial. She's married to David, this guy she met at some marketing seminar back in the day, and they've got an 8-year-old daughter, Mia. They rent this swanky apartment downtown, the kind with a doorman and overpriced coffee shops on every corner. Rachel does freelance marketing gigs, picking up clients when she feels like it, but you'd think she was a millionaire with the way she spends. Designer bags, weekend getaways, Mia's dance lessons. She's always got something new to show off when she swings by on Sundays. Last time she visited, she flopped onto the couch, kicked off her heels, and looked me up and down. "Sophie, are you seriously wearing those same jeans again? What are you, allergic to shopping?" I glanced at my faded denim, perfectly fine, by the way, and shrugged. "They're comfortable. Why waste money?" She laughed, this sharp little sound that always makes me feel small. "God, you're so boring. No wonder you're still single. Guys don't date girls who look like they're stuck in 2015. I bit my tongue, like always. Rachel's got this way of turning everything into a jab, and I've learned it's easier to let it slide than fight back. She's been like that forever, though. Growing up, she was the loud one, the one who got all the attention with her big ideas and bigger tantrums. Me? I was the quiet kid who liked numbers, who'd rather figure out patterns in my math homework than beg for new clothes. Now she's out there living her best life, as she calls it, while I'm here keeping Mom and Dad afloat. Funny how that works. It's not like I hate my life. My job's great. I crunch data, build reports, help the company figure out where the money's going. It's satisfying seeing all those numbers line up just right. But when I'm not working, I've got this side thing I've been tinkering with, a personal finance AI model. It's nothing crazy, just something I started messing around with last year. The idea is it analyze your spending habits, predict where you're headed, and tell you how to fix it before you're broke. I've been coding it in my room at night, hunched over my laptop with a cup of coffee, watching the algorithms come together. Mom and Dad don't get it. They think I'm just glued to my screen for no reason, like I'm some teenager playing games. "Sophie, you're gonna ruin your eyes," Mom will say, poking her head in my door. I just nod and keep going. Meanwhile, Rachel's always got her hand out. "Hey, Soph, Can you spot me $200? She asked last month, twirling her hair like we're still kids and she's begging for candy money. Mia's birthday's coming up, and I saw this adorable dress she'd love. I sighed, transferred the cash, and watched her skip off without a thank you. It's not the first time, and I know it won't be the last. She and David pull in decent money when they're working, but it's like they've got a black hole in their bank account, gone the second it hits. Vacations, dinners out, whatever shiny thing catches Rachel's eye. I don't get it. Why blow it all when you could save a little, build something real? Still, I keep my head down. I've got my savings growing, my AI project taking shape, and a plan to get out eventually. I figure if I can hold out a little longer, help Mom and Dad get steady, I'll finally have my shot at something just for me. That's what I told myself anyway, until everything started falling apart in ways I never saw coming. It started with David losing his job, and trust me, that was just the beginning. It was a Tuesday when everything flipped upside down. I'd just finished a long day of staring at spreadsheets, my eyes blurry from too much screen time, when I pulled into the driveway and saw David's SUV parked crooked, taking up half the lawn. Boxes were spilling out of the back, suitcases stacked like someone had packed in a panic. I walked inside, and it was like a tornado had hit. The living room was a mess. Rachel's high heels tossed by the couch, Mia's toys scattered across the rug, and a pile of moving boxes blocking the TV. Mom was bustling around, trying to clear space, while Dad just sat in his recliner, looking dazed. "What's going on?" I asked, dropping my bag by the door. Rachel spun around from where she was barking orders at David, her hair a little wild like she hadn't slept. "Oh, Sophie, thank God you're here. David lost his job and we had to move out of the apartment. Landlord gave us 48 hours. Can you believe that?" David shuffled in from the hallway, carrying a lamp that looked too expensive for their budget. He didn't look at me, just mumbled, "It's a long story." "Long story?" I raised an eyebrow, turning to him. "What happened?" Rachel jumped in before he could answer. His boss totally screwed him over, accused him of mishandling funds or some nonsense. It's not his fault. His buddy at work set him up during an audit. They're calling it theft, but he was just borrowing it, you know? He'd have paid it back. I stared at David, waiting for him to say something, but he just shrugged, his face red. "Borrowing company money? That's what they call stealing where I come from." But I didn't push it. The room was already thick with tension, and Mom shot me a look like I'd better not start anything. "So, you're moving in?" I asked, trying to keep my voice even. "Just until we get back on our feet," Mom said quickly, wiping her hands on a dish towel. "It's family, Sophie. We help each other out." I nodded, but inside I knew this wasn't temporary. Rachel doesn't do temporary. She settles in like she owns the place. And that's exactly what happened. Within a week, the house wasn't mine anymore. It was theirs. Mia's crayons were all over the kitchen table, David's golf clubs leaned against the wall, and Rachel's clothes took over the laundry room. She'd sprawl out on the couch every night, scrolling her phone, complaining about how depressing it was to lose their fancy life. "We used to go to this amazing sushi place every Friday," she whined at dinner one night, poking at Mom's meatloaf like it was roadkill. "This is so bland, Mom. Don't you have any spices?" Mom just smiled, all apologetic. "I'll try harder next time, honey." I stabbed my fork into my perfectly decent meatloaf and kept quiet. Why didn't anyone tell her to cook her own damn food? David found a new job pretty quick, a desk gig that paid half what he used to make, but you'd think he was unemployed with how much he griped about it. Barely covers gas. he'd mutter, loud enough for everyone to hear. Rachel kept up her freelance marketing, a few hours here and there, but it was mostly for show. She'd come home with shopping bags, claiming they were client gifts, while I watched the grocery bill. Meanwhile, I'm still shelling out $800 a month, and nobody's saying a word about pitching in. Then there's the money grabs. Sophie, can you spot me 300? Rachel cornered me in the kitchen one night, her voice all sugar. You need new shoes, and we're a little tight this week. I dried my hands on a towel, already knowing where this was going. Didn't David just get paid? I asked. She huffed, crossing her arms. Yeah, but we've got bills, okay? It's not like you've got kids to worry about. I handed over the cash because it's easier than arguing, but it stung. That was the third time that month. Work kept me sane. I'd log in every morning, crunching numbers, building forecasts, feeling like I had some control. But nights were my real escape. After everyone went to bed, I'd pull out my laptop and dive into my AI project. It was coming together. This slick little model that could scan your bank account, flag dumb spending habits, and map out a plan to save you from yourself. I'd sit there in the dark, tweaking code, watching it learn. It felt good, like I was building something nobody could take away. Mom didn't see it that way. Sophie, it's midnight. Why are you still up wasting electricity? She'd grumble, standing in my doorway in her robe. Just finishing something, I'd say, not looking up. Dad would chime in from down the hall. All she does is mess with that computer, no wonder she's always alone. I let it go. They wouldn't get it, and I wasn't about to explain. Rachel's chaos didn't stop. One night, she barged into my room, no knock, no warning, while I was deep in my code. I need $250, she said, like it was nothing. Mia's got a field trip and we want to take her to the zoo after. She's been so down since we moved. I looked up, annoyed. Didn't I just give you $300 last week? She rolled her eyes. God, Sophie, why do you always make it a thing? You've got no responsibilities, just help us out. I gave in again, but that was the night I started locking my door. If she was going to treat me like a bank, I'd at least make her work for it. The house wasn't a home anymore. It was a circus, and I was the tightrope walker, balancing my job, my project, and their demands. I kept telling myself I'd get out soon, that my savings would carry me to freedom. But every day it got harder to breathe in that place. Rachel's entitlement, Mom and Dad's blind excuses for her, it was suffocating. I didn't know it then, but the real breaking point was coming, and it had hit me like a freight train. Living with Rachel's family was like being stuck in a reality show I never signed up for. Every day was a new episode of complaints, demands, and messes I had to tiptoe around. Mia's toys were everywhere. David's grumbling filled the air, and Rachel acted like she was doing us all a favor by gracing us with her presence. My $800 a month wasn't cutting it anymore, apparently. One night at dinner, Mom set down a pot of spaghetti and gave me this nervous smile. Sophie, we've been talking, she started, glancing at Dad. He cleared his throat, staring at his plate. Things are tighter now with everyone here. Utilities are through the roof, and groceries. Well, Mia's growing, you know how kids are. I twirled my fork in the noodles, waiting for it. What your dad's saying, Mom jumped in, is we were hoping you could chip in a little more, maybe $1,500 a month. I almost choked. $1,500, I said, keeping my voice steady. That's almost double, Rachel piped up from across the table, not even looking up from her phone. It's not a big deal, Soph. You're single, no kids. What else are you spending on? Dad nodded like she'd just dropped some wisdom. You've got a good job, honey? We're all pitching in here. I wanted to ask how Rachel's half-day marketing gigs or David's whining about his paycheck counted as pitching in, but I just said, fine, starting this month. Mom's face lit up with relief, and Rachel smirked like she'd won something. I kept my mouth shut, but inside I was done. Work was my lifeline. I'd log into my data dashboards every morning, lose myself in trends and projections, and pretend the chaos at home didn't exist. But nights were where I really lived. My AI project was almost ready. This little beast of a program that could scan your finances, spot where you're screwing yourself, and chart a path out of the hole. I'd been pouring everything into it, late hours with cold coffee, tweaking algorithms until they hummed. It wasn't just a hobby anymore. It was good, really good. I started shopping it around quietly, emailing a few tech startups I'd found online. No one at home had a clue. To them, I was just messing with my computer again. Then it happened. One Thursday, I got an email from a startup in Seattle. They'd run my demo and their CEO wanted to talk. We hopped on a call the next day. I took it in my car during lunch so no one would overhear. "Sophie, this is game-changing," he said, his voice crackling with excitement. "The way it predicts spending patterns, the user interface, it's miles ahead of what's out there. We want to buy it full right, 600 grand. I gripped the steering wheel, trying to play it cool. 600,000? I repeated, just to be sure I wasn't dreaming. "Yeah," he said, "plus a small cut of future sales if we scale it. What do you say?" My heart was pounding, but I kept my tone even. "That sounds fair." We hashed out details, and by the end of the week, the deal was signed. The money hit my account 2 days later. $600,000 sitting there like a ticket out. I didn't tell a soul. Not Mom, not Dad, definitely not Rachel. I'd seen what money did in this family. Rachel would have had her hands on it before the ink dried, and Mom and Dad would have guilted me into helping out until it was gone. No way. This was mine, and I was getting out. I called my buddy Jake, a real estate guy I'd met through work, and kept my voice low. "Hey, I need a place. Small house, quiet, near the edge of town. Something I can move into fast." He laughed. "Finally ditching the family nest, huh?" "I've got a few spots. Let's meet up tomorrow." I hung up, sitting in my car in the driveway, feeling lighter than I had in months. But the demands didn't stop. Rachel hit me up again a few days later, leaning against my doorframe while I was packing up my laptop. "Sophie, I need $300, she said, all casual. "David and I want to take Mia to a concert this weekend. She's been so stressed with the move." I zipped my bag, not looking at her. "Didn't I just give you money for her shoes?" She sighed, loud and dramatic. "God, why do you keep track like that? It's not like you're hurting for cash. Just help us out." I handed it over, but that was it. I was tapped out. Not financially, but emotionally. I couldn't keep bleeding for them. The next week I met Jake after work. He showed me this cute little house, white siding, a tiny porch 10 minutes from my favorite coffee shop. It was perfect. I paid cash, used a chunk of the 600 grand, and signed the papers that day. No mortgage, no strings, just mine. I started sneaking stuff over there bit by bit, clothes, my laptop, a few books, setting it up on the down low. At home, I acted like nothing was different, nodding along when Mom asked about my day or Rachel complained about her clients. But every night I'd stare at my ceiling and count the days until I could walk away. They kept pushing, though. "Sophie, can you make it 1,500 this month?" Dad asked one morning over breakfast, his voice sheepish. "We're really stretched," Rachel jumped in. "Yeah, and Mia's school supplies aren't cheap." I said yes, because it bought me time, but I was already halfway out the door in my head. I'd smile, play along, and think about that little house waiting for me. It was freedom, and I could taste it. What I didn't know was how fast they'd shove me out the rest of the way, and how good it'd feel when they did. It was a Friday when it all went down. I'd had a brutal day at work, endless meetings, a crashed data set, the kind of stuff that makes you want to crawl into bed and forget the world. All I wanted was to get home, lock my door, and crash. But when I pulled into the driveway, something felt off. The house was too quiet, no usual chaos spilling out the front door. I walked in, dropped my bag, and froze. There, in the hallway, was a pile of my stuff. My laptop, my clothes, even the stack of notebooks I kept under my bed. Dumped, like trash someone forgot to take out. I blinked, trying to process it, then stormed toward my room. The door was open, and inside, it wasn't mine anymore. Mia was sprawled on the bed, now covered in pink sheets with unicorns, coloring in a book. The walls, once plain with my old college diploma pinned up, were plastered with glittery posters. My desk, where I'd built my AI model, was gone, replaced by a little table littered with crayons and dolls. "Hey, Aunt Sophie," Mia chirped, looking up with a grin. "Look at my new room. It's so cool, right?" Before I could answer, Rachel appeared in the doorway, arms crossed like she'd been waiting for me. "Oh, you're back," she said, her tone flat, like this was no big deal. "What the hell is this?" I asked, keeping my voice low but sharp. She shrugged, flicking her hair back. "We moved Mia in here. She needs a real space for her stuff. Schoolwork, toys, you know. That closet she was in barely fit her bed." I stared at her, then at the pile in the hall. "And where am I supposed to sleep?" Mom popped up behind Rachel, wringing her hands. "Sophie, honey, we figured you're always working late or on that computer. You wouldn't mind the sofa for a bit? It's just temporary." "The sofa?" I repeated, turning to Mom. "You moved all my things without even asking me?" Rachel cut in. "We knew you'd overreact if we did. Mia needed this, okay? She's been miserable cramped up with us." I glanced at Mia, who was back to coloring, oblivious. "What about her old room?" I asked. Mom hesitated, her eyes darting to Rachel. "Well," she said, "we thought Rachel could use it as a workspace. She's got clients to meet, and there's no room with her and David for all her files." I looked at Rachel, standing there in a sleek blazer that probably cost more than my monthly contribution, and it hit me. They'd kicked me out of my own room, the one I was basically paying for with $1,500 a month, to give Rachel a workspace for her part-time gigs. My stuff was in the hall, my space was gone, and they didn't even blink. Something snapped, but not like they expected. No yelling, no tears. I just nodded. "You know what? That's fine," I said, my voice calm, almost cold. Rachel smirked, thinking she'd won. "See? Told you she'd be cool with it." She had no idea. I turned, walked downstairs, and pulled out my phone. I called a moving company I'd scoped out weeks ago, booked them for 7 a.m. the next morning, earliest slot they had. Then I texted my boss, asked for the day off. All the while, Mom hovered nearby, watching me like I might explode. "Sophie, you okay?" she asked, her voice shaky. "I'm great," I said, not looking up. Dad wandered in from the garage, wiping his hands on a rag. "What's all this about?" he asked, glancing at the pile of my stuff. "Ask them," I said, heading back to the hall to grab my laptop. Rachel followed me, her tone shifting to that fake sweet thing she does. You're not mad, right? It's just better this way. I ignored her, checking my bag to make sure nothing was missing. Then I noticed something. My notebooks were messed up, pages flipped, like someone had rifled through them. Did you go through my stuff? I asked, looking straight at her. She flinched, just for a second, then laughed it off. What? No, why would I? Mia probably messed with them. I didn't buy it. She'd been digging, probably hunting for cash or bank statements, but I'd kept everything locked down. Passwords, accounts, all of it. She'd found nothing. That's when I decided. I wasn't just leaving. I was going to let them figure out how wrong they'd been without me saying a word. I grabbed a suitcase from the closet, started packing what I could carry, and let them watch. What are you doing? Mom asked, her voice rising. Packing, I said, folding a shirt. You're not sleeping on the sofa? Dad asked, confused. No, I said. I've got a place. Bought it last week. Was gonna tell you soon, but looks like now's the time. Rachel laughed, sharp and loud. A place? Yeah, right. With what money? I didn't answer, just kept packing. Mom's face went pale. You bought a house? How? Doesn't matter, I said, zipping the bag. What matters is I'm out tomorrow. Movers are coming at 7. Dad stepped closer. Sophie, let's talk about this. If it's the room, we can move Mia back. I cut him off. It's not the room. It's everything. I'm done. Rachel crossed her arms, smirking again. You're bluffing. You can't afford a house. You're just mad. I looked at her, at that smug little grin, and smiled back. Guess you'll see. I slept on the couch that night, my suitcase by my side, and didn't say another word. They'd pushed me out, thinking I'd bend like always, but I was already gone, and what came next was going to hit them harder than they could imagine. The movers showed up at 7 a.m. sharp, 2 guys in faded t-shirts hauling dollies up the driveway. I'd barely slept, but I was buzzing, half adrenaline, half relief. Mom and Dad were already up, hovering in the kitchen with coffee cups, watching me like I was about to pull a prank. Rachel and David stumbled downstairs a few minutes later, Mia trailing behind with her stuffed bunny. What's all this? Dad asked, peering out the window as the guys started loading my suitcase. I told you, I said, double-checking my laptop bag. I'm moving out. Today. Rachel snorted, leaning against the counter. You're serious? Where are you even going? I grabbed a box of books from the hall pile, my pile, the one they dumped without a thought, and handed it to one of the movers. My place, I said, keeping it vague, near town. Mom set her mug down, her hands shaky. Sophie, please, let's figure this out. We didn't mean to upset you. I looked at her, at the worry creasing her face, and almost felt bad, almost. You didn't ask, I said. You just took my room, my space, and figured I'd roll with it. I'm not upset. I'm done. David shifted uncomfortably, scratching his neck. Look, if it's about Mia, we can move her back. It's not a big deal. I shook my head, handing off another box. It's not about Mia. It's about respect. I've been paying $1,500 a month to live here, more than half the bills, and you still treat me like I'm just extra. Rachel rolled her eyes. God, Sophie, stop playing the victim. You're single, you've got no responsibilities, we've got a kid to think about. I turned to her, calm as anything. Then think about her with your own money. The movers kept working, carrying stuff out to the truck while my family stood there, gaping. How'd you afford a place? Dad asked, his voice quiet like he was piecing something together. Where is it? I shrugged. Close enough. Don't worry about it. Rachel wasn't letting it go. No, seriously, how? You're just some data nerd. Houses aren't cheap. I ignored her, directing the last box out the door. The guy in charge tipped his cap. All loaded. You ready? I nodded, grabbing my purse. Yeah, let's go. Mom stepped forward, her eyes wet. Sophie, don't leave like this. We need you. There it was, the real reason. Not love, not family, just need. You'll figure it out, I said, heading for the door. Rachel called after me. You're abandoning us after everything we've done for you? I didn't turn back. Goodbye, I said and walked out. The truck rumbled off, and I followed in my car, watching the house shrink in my rear view. For the first time in years, I could breathe. The next few days were a whirlwind. I settled into my new place, a little house with white siding and a porch just big enough for a chair and a coffee mug. I unpacked boxes, hung a few pictures, set up my desk in the corner by the window. No chaos, no demands, just quiet. I kept my phone off most of the time, knowing they'd blow it up. When I finally turned it on, I wasn't wrong. Missed calls from Mom, texts from Rachel ranging from, "Where are you?" to, "You're so selfish." I didn't reply. I was free, and it felt better than I'd imagined. Then, a week later, it hit the fan. I'd been scrolling news on my laptop, sipping coffee, when I got a call from Jake, my real estate buddy. "Hey, Soph, you see this yet?" he asked, laughing. "See what?" I said. He sent me a link. A local tech blog had run a story. Data analyst sells AI finance tool for $600 K to Seattle startup. My name was right there along with a photo I'd sent the company for their press kit. They'd interviewed the CEO, who called my model a total game changer. I stared at the screen, half proud, half panicked. I hadn't told anyone. How'd it get out? Turns out the startup had pushed the story wide, and it caught traction fast. By noon, my phone was buzzing again. Mom called first. "Sophie, is this true?" she asked, her voice trembling. "You sold something for $500,000? I sighed. "Yeah, Mom, my AI project. The one you thought was me wasting time." She went quiet, then, "Why didn't you tell us?" I didn't sugarcoat it, because I knew what had happened. You'd want it. She didn't argue. Rachel was next, her tone flipping from mad to syrupy in seconds. "Sophie, oh my God, 600 grand? That's insane. Look, I'm sorry about the room thing. Let's talk, okay? We're family. We should share this." I laughed, couldn't help it. "Share? Rachel, you've been taking from me for years. I'm not giving you a dime." She got mad fast. "You're so greedy. We're struggling here, and you're sitting on all that cash? Mia deserves better." I hung up, done with her guilt trips. That night, I sat down and wrote an email to Mom and Dad, attached a $500 transfer, one-time thing. "Thanks for pushing me to stand on my own," I typed. "This is the last time I'm helping. Take care." I hit send, blocked their numbers, and closed my laptop. They'd figure out the bills without me. Or they wouldn't. Not my problem anymore. 6 months later, I'm still in my little house, and life's good. Work's kicking ass. I got a raise after the AI sale buzz, and the royalties from the startup are trickling in, adding to my savings. I've started a new project, another AI thing, just for fun. I've even been traveling a bit. Weekends in the mountains, a trip to the coast. Bought myself a decent jacket. Nothing Rachel would drool over, but it's warm and it's mine. I'm dating too. This guy from work who likes my quiet vibe and doesn't care that I'm not flashy. It's easy, nice. Word gets back through old friends. Rachel's working full-time now, some retail job she hates, and David's still griping about his paycheck. Mom and Dad are scraping by, apparently mad I abandoned them. Rachel tells anyone who'll listen I'm a selfish jerk who hid money from my own family. I don't care. They saw me as a paycheck, not a person. Years of handing over cash, taking their jabs, letting them walk all over me. Walking away wasn't selfish, it was survival. Sometimes I wonder if I should have handled it different, sat them down, laid it all out. But then I remember that pile of my stuff in the hall, Rachel's smirk, Mom's excuses, and I know I did what I had to. I'm not their bank, their backup plan, their doormat. I'm just Sophie, 28, free, and finally living for me,